Gon' kick it off then. Whoa. Gon' kick it off then. It ain't a game, kick it off then. Whoa. So gon' kick it off then. Huh? What we talking about, it goes deep.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching SPN the network. Tune into another episode of WTF Too, Women Talk Football Too. I'm Latasha Miles, aka Joan Madden, the Gridiron Goddess, and I'm accompanied by my beautiful, intelligent, charismatic, dope co-host. Let the people know who you are.
What's up, y'all? It's the one and only touchdown tomboy. Yeah, I'm really looking like a tomboy today because me and my husband went out to the park. We went to walk and stuff like that. So, I'm trying to keep my health going. You can't just talk about football. You got to exercise too, y'all. Okay, that's the plug.
Absolutely. Health is wealth. And hey, I don't blame you. The weather's beautiful today. So yeah, do what you got to do to keep yourself intact. I don't blame you whatsoever. We 40 now too. So yeah, definitely. No doubt. And here we are again, another week in and more injuries, but the spotlight has been on quarterbacks all season. And this week is no different. 2 more to the tally this past week. Russell Wilson with an injury to his finger in 2 places. Now, he did have a successful surgery, thankfully, but he is out for a few weeks, targeting a return maybe around week 10. Geno Smith to serve as his replacement. And also in the NFC West, my fellow May 9th baby, Trey Lance, who suffered a knee sprain, was missed some time as well. Now, mind you, Jimmy Garoppolo for the 49ers isn't even 100% healthy himself, so we're going to definitely be keeping an eye out on that. But then there were some better views from the quarterback position this week. We're going to talk about that. Not so better news for a former NFL coach and the roller coaster ride with some of the club records. So let's jump into it with these topics head first with the first quarter. Here we go. Touchdown tomboy. Now, of course, we had a big night from Lamar Jackson. Yeah, the Lamar Jackson that many people said that he shouldn't play quarterback, and he did just that on Monday night. He played himself some quarterback position. And what a tremendous heroic output from the former Louisville Heisman winner. Down 19 points. Lamar literally carried the team on his back, clawed them back into victory. It took overtime to do so, but hey, a win is a win. And in that effort, he amassed 442 passing yards, which is a franchise record, by the way. First quarterback in NFL history to complete 85% of his passes while throwing 400 yards. His 86% completion rate was the highest in a 40-pass game. Oh, he also tossed in 62 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, some might say it was just against the one-win Colts and try to downplay that win. But why doesn't Lamar get more love? And now, touchdown tomboy, are we putting him legitimately into the MVP conversation?
I mean, you have to. After the performance that they put up, I have been so impressed with Lamar this season. And I'm gonna tell you why, because when I sit and I look at every game, they have had so many injuries from the running back position. And I was like, they're not gonna have a running game. What are they gonna do? Then they had injuries on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm like, man, they're not going to be able to slow people down. So they're going to have to score a lot of points. And then they're missing they were missing other receivers and just a lot of offensive, weapons and stuff like that. And then they had injuries, and it's just been crazy for the Baltimore Ravens. But I don't know if he is willing himself or he's praying to God, and God is just upholding. I can't tell you what's happening. But Lamar, for the last 4 games, anytime that I was like, man, they're going to lose this game, he finds a way to strike back. And to me, when I look at what the Baltimore Ravens are doing, they would not, when you say MVP, you're saying most valuable player.
Right.
When I say most valuable player, and I look at what the Baltimore Ravens are doing they're doing it off the heels of Lamar Jackson and Lamar Jackson alone. From the throwing to the running to the just, and then people said, oh, this guy, he can't pass. And I'm like, wait. He can't pass, but he threw up 442 yards in every game. I checked his stats. Every game he's thrown for at least 200 yards this season. So he's throwing and he's running, and he at least in every game he's had some type of, his QBR has been at least, I think his lowest QBR was in game 3 was like a 78. And that's pretty still good. So he's been 78, 104. Everything has been like either 90s or 100 QBRs, and then Monday night's game, he had a 104 QBR. So to me, that doesn't say a person that can't pass. This is somebody that's executing in every phase of the game, and you have to give him that. And injuries excluded, he's finding a way to win. He's not letting the pressure get to him. He's not letting the injuries get to him. He's honed in. He's focused. And by gosh, you cannot say MVP at this point and not put his name in there. You can't.
Yeah. That's true. Now, I know some of the earlier issues in Lamar's NFL career had been like his postseason struggles, his win-loss record, especially at home in the postseason. But guess what? MVP has nothing to do with that. And of course, disclaimer, the MVP conversation changes weekly. So let's just say that first and foremost. But now Lamar Jackson has certainly entered that. This is a guy, I think probably the fact that he was told, oh, you can't play quarterback, you need to play wide receiver. That's the thing that I love the most about his output so far. He's been ridiculed and criticized about his role with this position and how he plays this position, but he has really stepped up and answered every beckoning call, every criticism here lately. He has put the team on his back. These guys lost week 1, a game that they also could have won, an overtime game against the Raiders, also on prime time. They could have won that game. And, Lamar got beat up a lot because he had 2 crucial turnovers down the stretch, which were inevitably, just keeping it real, that was costly. And that was pretty much the reason why they lost the game. But instead of dwelling on that, and instead of just oh, woe is me, this is my fault, I messed us up, he has turned this thing around 180 degrees. And this 4-game winning streak, as you alluded to, his QBR has increased and improved. And he has been on some, oh, Baltimore's going to lose this game. Up, ding dong, that was the doorbell ringing, and here entering Lamar Jackson once again with heroic efforts to put his team on his back and help put them in a position to win. The thing is, sadly, Lamar doesn't get as much love as he should because he plays for the gritty Baltimore Ravens, a team that has honestly been known for their defense. And we're talking about even now, when people think think about Baltimore, they don't think about Lamar Jackson. They think about Ray Lewis. They think about Ed Reed. Like Lamar Jackson, who is the current quarterback and a Heisman winner, does not come across their mind. That's not his fault. Also, people talk about Justin Tucker a lot and his long leg and all you gotta do is get to the 40 when you're playing with Baltimore, which is true because Justin Tucker typically can win it with his foot as well. So unfortunately, Lamar has not gotten as much love as he has. Also, some other reasons, he's a very unorthodox quarterback. He's not your typical pocket passer. But again, none of this is his fault. I think at the end of the day, when we're talking about MVP and putting him in the MVP conversation, you have to look at what he's done, his stats, the way he's helped his team win. And like you said, amidst all the injuries, he's been the reason why they won. You take Lamar Jackson out of the equation, it don't matter if Justin Tucker is there. It doesn't matter if Harbaugh is the coach. None of that matters anymore when you eliminate that Lamar Jackson piece. He's the puzzle. He is the piece of the puzzle right now. And as long as he's out there, Baltimore always has a chance to win. And for the people to criticize the way that he's won games and, he's a scrambling quarterback, he's this, he's that. I'm very, very reminiscent of a Cam Newton who won an MVP as well in 2015, who did a lot of that with his legs. And I'll take 5 yards on the ground, 5-6 yards average for my quarterback on the ground. I will definitely take that, especially when the running game is kind of stale due to the fact that they have injuries. And this is just a multifaceted, multidimensional, multi-talented quarterback who has stepped up and kind of knocked everything out, and he's limiting his turnovers as well. So he's kind of executing on all parts of the quarterback, low turnovers. You want to get passing, you want to get yards, you want to get touchdowns. And if need be, you want to win with your legs too. I will take that every day of the week, twice on Sunday, twice on Monday, and twice on Thursday. So kudos to Lamar. He definitely belongs in the MVP conversation. It's a hard pill for me to swallow because he is still a division rival. Keep going out and exceeding expectations. I wouldn't mind if Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray, that type of quarterback, won the MVP this year. I like the refreshingness of it. I really do. Not your typical quarterback. They don't have your typical look. They don't have your typical playing position, how they play the position. I love it. Now get the MVP, Lamar, add it to your accolades with the Heisman, but don't go off and win the Super Bowl now, honey. You got to stop somewhere now. Like, don't break my heart like that. Just get the MVP. But again, you're my division rival. Don't win the Super Bowl. Yeah. I purposely led with Lamar Jackson, with us talking about him because I felt like this next subject is overshadowing his accomplishment from Monday night. And, we definitely wanted to show him some love. So moving along into the second quarter, the abrupt dismissal of Raiders coach John Gruden due to his misogynist, racist, homophobic emails from 10 years ago, yet they resurfaced and now he's an unemployed Floyd. What do you make of this whole ordeal, touchdown Tomboy?
Well, let me tell you what I think about this whole deal. I feel like at the end of the day, what is going on, yes, it's not right, it's not good, but I feel like John Gruden is the scapegoat for something that is systemic. And when I say systemic, that John Gruden is not the first person that we've heard complaints about, of players complaining about their, the team having racist owners and so on and so forth. And if I understand correctly, there were a slew of already owners that were on the email list. So they have been getting these emails and nobody said anything, Tampa Bay included. And then Tampa comes out yesterday and says, well, we refute, we're not that organization, but their owner was CC'd on the emails. The Raiders owner was CC'd on the emails and they were reading these emails. You cannot make me believe that they were getting these emails and they were not reading them. They were seeing them. So to me, I feel like this is a small worm to a bigger problem, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's been systemic. Antonio Brown has talked about this before with the Raiders, okay? Deshaun Watson talked about some issues down in Texas with the Texans with their owner, and their owner was the same one that said that you don't let the prisoners run the prison. Like, what kind of reference is that? So it's been going on in the NFL for a long time, and I feel like that they just went ahead and fired John Gruden so that the issue goes away. But I still believe that there are tons of owners, a slew of those old school owners that still feel exactly the same way that John Gruden does. The only difference is they were not caught.
Right. I agree with you. And there's an adage that sometimes the trash just takes itself out. And I think this is a prime example of it. But what tripped me out though, because the timing of it, like with all of these emails being exposed, and I'm kind of like, so who was responsible for this? Like, did R. Kelly turn in these emails? Like, he trying to get his time reduced? He snitching or what? Well, I just thought, like, wow, this how'd they get these? And this happened 10 years ago, and the fact that it's coming out again like this, and it's more detailed. Like, wow, that really blew my mind as well.
And they claim that some of these emails were current too. So
yes, you're right.
And I'm like, you mean to tell me that in these current emails, and they said that the most current emails were going back and forth with the owner of the Raiders organization. So he knew and he said nothing. If it was not exposed, then what? John Gruden would still be coaching.
Would still be coaching. And
so that just goes to show you where we are.
I mean, and even going to that, so the racist emails and the misogynist emails, they actually came out first, and he was supposed to got fired over the weekend, but the mentality was, oh, that's forget about it, it's just emails, it's not that serious, let's get back to football. But I found it mighty funny that as soon as the homophobic stuff came out, oh, now you want to fire him, like now it's a problem. So be clear, ladies and gentlemen, here's your lesson in hierarchy. You can talk about non-white people, you can talk about females, but do not touch those gays, honey. Because look, that's where the line gets drawn, honey. Like, you got to get an ally with the gays. So essentially, that's what brought him down. They weren't going to touch him if it wasn't for him talking about with him having homophobia, especially because Carl Nassib is on the team and he's an open gay player. So it's kind of, and a lot of people don't agree with him being there. So I think that John Gruden being gone, I think this is actually going to show more true colors. We're going to see more pieces of this unfold. And like you said, he's definitely serving as a scapegoat. But I just feel like everything that John Gruden has stood for now, any compliment to a woman, any compliment to a non-white person, any compliment to a person who happens to be married to or like the same gender, I just feel like everything is a whole complete bald-faced lie. And Keyshawn has warned us about this as well. Like you said, Antonio Brown, he said the guys felt like it's a shiesty car salesman, and here's a more receipt. Let's just keep it real about John Gruden's legacy. I mean, the guy's knowledgeable. I loved him breaking down film, and I learned so much when John Gruden was in the booth, because he's very knowledgeable. But let's talk about him as a coach. His resume essentially is he got that ring with Tampa off the coattails of that being Tony Dungy's team. That was a charity ring. That was a courtesy ring. He didn't earn that ring. It was set up for him. It was an alley-oop, and all he did was slam dunk it. And also, the other thing about Gruden's career, he started making those faces on the sideline, and people started linking it with Chucky and just reminiscing of Chucky. And it just became like a big media, like a great, it was really good publicity. You know what I'm saying? And that gave him more attention. So those are really the two main components of his coaching career. Coach Chucky, and he got that ring because it was Tony Dungy's team. So at the end of the day, I'm feeling like, look, like, I appreciate the exposure. Let's get rid of them all. And, his brother's a slime ball. His brother's a terrible coach. I'm so glad his brother's gone off into oblivion and exiled as well, getting rid of John too. And I mean, I've always felt like you could never trust the John that does not have an H in his name. I mean, the guy's name is spelled Jon. I mean, that right there to me is shiesty. Like, where is your H? Like, I mean, I know the H is silent, but what is the obligatory H in your name, sir? So I already had trust issues with you from the jump. And I mean, good riddance to you. And I hope more get exposed. Get rid of them all. All right. So for the halftime presentation, touchdown time, boy, what you got for us today?
Okay, so as y'all know, that I'm a huge football fan. Okay, and so and my father-in-law happens to be a huge football fan too, but he actually loves college football. And so we happened to be watching a couple of college games over the weekend, because I think we went up there, we went to see them last week sometime. But anyway, so my husband it was something that happened. We were watching, I can't remember, the Auburn game. And we were talking about like the differences, and I was like, we was talking about the differences between college and professional NFL. And so I want to go over some of the main differences, because I think sometimes people, like, they think they got the same rules, but they really don't. And the biggest ones anyway. And so I wanted to start with, is one of the biggest things that the difference is that when you have a completed catch is only really completed in the NFL if both feet are inbounds. In college, they only allow 1 foot.
Right.
So that's a main big thing, okay? Now, in terms of clock management, at the end of the half, in the professional football, we have the 2-minute clock where it stops, and it's essentially like a timeout going into the half.
Right.
No, they don't have that in college football. They don't have the stop clock in college football. And the other thing that they do have in college football in terms of the clock being stopped is on every first down, the clock stops, because it allows them to reset the markers and move down. And so that's their time stoppage. The NFL has the 2-minute before the end of the half, and is essentially like a timeout, but the colleges don't have that, okay? Now, the other thing that I didn't even know until I just researched this stuff is that the hash marks in the professional football and the hash mark in college footballs are different. So the hash marks to the sidelines are different. And because they're different, it actually makes the kicking for college football a little bit harder, because their angles are different. So their angles are supposed to be like 70. So the NFL is 70 feet and 9 inches versus the college football is 60 feet. And because of that, it creates a weird type of angle. Okay. And it makes the kicking harder. Okay. Now, one of the other differences is how overtime works. In the NFL, overtime works basically is because you can have a tie. So, we get 10 minutes, you flip the coin, whoever wins the coin toss, they get to decide which direction the ball goes. Now, if they score, then the team that score, if they score, whoever team gets the possession of the ball first, if they score a touchdown, then of course the game is over. Just like what happened on Monday night with the Ravens and the Colts. The Ravens scored a touchdown, and so the game was over. Now, if they had not have scored a touchdown, then the Colts would have gotten the opportunity to score. And if they didn't score and maybe they just kicked the field goal, then the Colts would have got the opportunity to go down there and at least try for a field field goal to either tie the game or to get a touchdown to win the game. So now, if it would have been tied and they still had time within regulation, then they would have kicked the ball back off to Baltimore, and it goes on so on like that until the end of the 10 minutes. And whoever got the most points win. If they don't, then it's a tie ball game. Well, in college, they don't allow tie ball games.
Right.
So in college, what they do is basically they don't even have a clock. So basically what they do is they do the coin toss. Whoever wins the coin toss, they decide if they're going to get or they're going to kick it off. And whoever not kick it off, but they don't even kick off the ball in overtime in college too. They actually put the ball on the 25. So once they put the ball on the 25-yard line, then they play from that point. So now if they play for that point, whether they score or they don't score, the opposing team automatically gets the opportunity to basically try to tie the ball game or win the ball game. Now, if the opposing team gets more points when they come back, of course they'll win. But if they don't, let's say it's a tie ball game, then that's considered to be one. I mean, it's still a tie. They kick a field goal and they tie, or neither team scores and it's a tie ball game and it's no possession there, then they'll just move to the next period. Now they'll keep doing that until they get to the third overtime. Once they get to the third overtime, if a team scores a touchdown, they make them go for a 2-point conversion.
Oh, yeah.
So if they go for the 2-point conversion, and they'll try to make them go for the 2-point conversion to win or not win. And no matter what happens, they'll just keep going back and forth until they get a declared winner. Now, history has said that in 2003, I want to say, that the longest standing overtime period in college football was between Kentucky and Arkansas. They went into 7 overtimes in 2003. Okay. Now, this is a big one. In the NFL, you're only ruled down by contact.
Right.
In college football, if you slip or you fall, you're considered to be down. It's no somebody receiver touches you and you're down. It doesn't work like that. If your knee hits any part of your body hits that surface, it's considered to be down, and that's just the end of that play. Okay. And one of the other things is that, which is I felt like was probably one of the things that most people want to know about the most is in 2015, the NFL used to allow us to do extra points from the 2-yard line. So they would place the ball on the 2-yard line, which would essentially put the kicker at the 20-yard line. But in 2015, they changed that. So now they put the ball on the 15-yard line, and then they go 18 yards from that. So now you're essentially kicking from the 33-yard line. Yeah, but if you're doing a 2-point conversion, you'll do that from the 2-yard line. Versus in college, you're going to do it from the 3-yard line, whether you're doing a 2-point conversion or a field goal.
That's crazy.
So those are some major differences. So now that y'all can watch and y'all be like, what? That was out or that was in. No, now you know there are differences in the rule. So I felt like that was very interesting, and I felt like because if my husband, well, I kind of knew some things I didn't know, but I felt like if we didn't know them all, then other people didn't know a lot of the major rules too. But those are the major differences between the two.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because, well, growing up, I didn't really get to watch a lot of college football. That was like housework day and going to town with grandma. And, like, our big thing was watching Soul Train. And then Sunday we watched NFL. So I was pretty equipped with NFL. But yeah, the college stuff, I missed out a lot of that. So you broke down a lot of stuff. And now that you brought that up, I'm like, yeah, I do remember seeing that and kind of mentally asking, but not thinking to go look. I just thought like, okay, this definitely got to be something different. But I tell you who else could have used this breakdown from you. That would have been Donovan McNabb. Do you remember years ago when they played Cincinnati? He got up there on the podium and he was like, I didn't know NFL games could end in overtime, and something like they wouldn't dare do that with the Super Bowl, right? Well, of course they wouldn't do it in the Super Bowl, but I'm like, I couldn't believe that he didn't know NFL games could end in overtime. I mean, I get it, you played in college and it didn't, but I just really thought like I was just shocked. But yeah, him in Cincinnati years ago, they ended in a tie. And he went to the post-game conference like, I did not know NFL games could end in a tie. So see, he should have known about you years ago, and you could have broke that down for him and let him know so that he would have been confused. Touchdown time, boy. Once again, thanks so much for the knowledge. always break stuff down with this, and always enlightening, because I'm telling you, every week I have learned something different. Stuff that I wouldn't think to go Google, or like it might not have hit my mind at the time, but then here you come to the rescue once again, throwing on your cape and dropping that knowledge. So much appreciated. Regrouping here with the third quarter. A few weeks ago, we did have a handful of 3-0 teams, and of course, we are down to the Arizona Cardinals being the last undefeated team with their 5-0 record. Now, in that span, 3 of those former 3-0 teams are on 2-game skids. They are the Raiders, the Broncos, and surprisingly, your Panthers, C squared. Now, which one of these teams do you think is in the most trouble?
If I was to be honest, I would have to say the Panthers. And
really?
And the reason why is because so when we played Dallas, I was like, okay, we're having issues in the third quarter. And our third quarter, so according to the stats, we're like a top 5 team in production in the first half.
Okay.
In the second half, we're number 32. That's a significant drop off. And what's happening is I don't know if we're not making adjustments in the second half like other teams are doing, but we're not getting production in the second half, which is why Philly was able to come back, because we weren't scoring. We're not scoring in the second half. And you can't ask a defense to hold your team to 9 points and to come out there and get stops, and you're 3 and out. And we have we've already knew we had issues with the offensive line. So the offensive line has had tons of issues. Now I think we're having issues. Matter of fact, I know we're having issues with play calling, which is why I think Robbie Anderson was going into an oblivion on Sunday, because he's like, what are y'all doing? And it's like, we haven't developed a true identity offensively of what we're going to be. When we saw on Sunday that the tight end set was working, Joe Brady went away from that. Why? I don't know. So it's kind of like, because the tight ends were eating up the zone coverages in the soft spots. And then we went away from that. So I don't know if we got a Joe Brady issue or if we got a offensive issue. I mean, I think it's Joe Brady. I think it's the offensive line. I think it's some Sam Darnold in there who's getting hit so much. He's like in the top 5 in the most hit quarterbacks in the first 5 games. The other quarterbacks were Jared Goff, Ryan Tannehill. So that doesn't sound like the makings of a team that is trying to go deep into the playoffs. So they got problems that they got to fix, and they got to fix fast, because they cannot go another game and not score in the second half. That's not going to work unless they're up like 50 or 60 points in the first half, which they're not going to do. So to me, I feel like out of all those teams, we're the team that has the most promise, but we're also the team that if we don't fix this, we're going to be on a sinking ship fast. Because if your defense is giving you 2 to 3 takeaways a game, which ours has been doing, and you don't score, that's a problem. Because typically, if you get 2 to 3 takeaways a game, you're going to win that game. We had 3 takeaways on Sunday, and we didn't score on one, not one. That's a problem. And so for me, when I look at it from that perspective, we have the most that's at risk.
You know what? I did not expect you to say the Panthers, but that just goes to show you all tuning in and listening that we're very unbiased here. But I'm telling you, I really did not expect you to say the Panthers, because I actually thought y'all were in the best shape. I went with the Raiders on this, because in the past 2 losses for them, like, I actually saw some preliminary unraveling from John Gruden, like some discombobulation. Like, he looked distracted. I don't know, maybe if he saw some of this coming or some personal stuff at home or whatever, but he just didn't have the same firepower behind him when they went 3-0. He didn't seem as enthused. He seemed very distracted. Also, there's been some questionable play calling from the Raiders that, where usually they had all this firepower, and, you take Waller out of the game, that's okay. Derek Carr was still able to make stuff happen. Waller, on the other hand, has been dropping open passes. And so it hasn't even been you taking Waller out of the game. Waller had been taking himself out of the game. And then it seemed like Carr had seen fizzle and lost as well because of some of Waller's drop passes. And there's also just some internal imploding coming now with this dismissal of John Gruden. I honestly think there's going to be some division in this locker room because, again, I don't think a lot of the players necessarily agreed or wanted Carl there anyway. But now, because Gruden's gone, I really think a lot of other people are probably going to be like, well, he was right. I totally agree with him. I feel him. And I just really think that there's going to be some internal imploding, some splitting, like I'm siding with this guy. I agree with him. I don't know. I just really feel like there's not going to be that same chemistry that they once had, and just more true colors are going to come out. Oh, and by the way, Derek Carr has even caught some of the fallout from the Gruden pink slip, and I just think that that's not going to rest easy on him. I just think he's going to be distracted as well as a result. And we all know from years, from just the history of the Raiders, their season essentially lies in Derek Carr's lower body. I don't think that Derek Carr has fully, like, he kind of reminds me of Carson Palmer. Like, I never thought that Carson Palmer completely healed emotionally. Yes, physically, X-rays wise, the doctor saying you got a clearance, you can play. Yeah, the tangibles, yeah, I think those were there, but just the intangibles, the emotional part, and just being scared of taking another hit, I don't think Carr's completely healed from that. And I think that we're going to start seeing some of that as well come out too. The reason why I didn't feel like you felt about the Panthers, but you've opened my eyes to it, I just really feel like the Panthers are on their way to getting a lot of their strength back. McCaffrey's back in practice. I mean, a hamstring is always tricky. It can always get re-aggravated. But the fact that McCaffrey was ahead of schedule and he was practicing already with that hamstring, I feel optimistic about the Panthers. There's more help on the way. Gilmore, you get him in week 7. He's the homie, 2019 Defensive Player of the Year, veteran. I don't know. I just really didn't feel like the Panthers were as bad off. Then going back to the Raiders, look at the way the Chargers are playing. They've won 3 straight, young team, fiery team. The Broncos, I just feel like, Teddy Bridgewater, he comes back healthy, he steps up. I think the Broncos will get back on track. That'll help them get their defense. The part of the issues is the defense is spending a lot of time on the field. But even though they didn't have a hard schedule at the beginning, Teddy Bridgewater was doing a very effective job managing the game. We know the issues with the Broncos has been quarterbacks for years. So if you get Teddy Bridgewater back out there and healthy, I think the Broncos will be just fine. So again, I'm not trusting the Raiders with these internal issues, the intangibles. I don't think that they'll be able to manage. The Raiders are kind of like, they went from 3-0 to kind of like a Titanic in 2 weeks. I think it's really going to be a long season for them. All the distractions coming from Gruden. A lot of the questions that they're going to get from the media is going to be more about Gruden as opposed to like their game plan, especially this week right here. Like, nobody cares about what you're going to do this game. They care about how you feel about Gruden being gone. Like, that's the subject here. I just think it's going to serve as a big distraction. I think it's going to be a long season for them. And with all that's going on, one more thing. I just thought about it. The Chiefs, they have 3 very favorable games coming up. So they can kind of get back in it too in this division. Again, taking the Raiders out of the equation. But I just really think it's going to be a longer season for the Raiders now. With everything that's going on, I'm expecting an even longer offseason. I think their offseason is going to begin in January. I don't see them getting back in that playoff hunt. I think there's not as much prosperity. There's not as much spark for the remainder of the 2021 year for the Raiders. And I think that they are a former 3-0 team to drop 2 straight. Who's in the most trouble? All right, so concluding here, fourth quarter, a little bit more positivity with this one. We all know that the Cardinals are the last undefeated team in the NFL, respectively. Their impressive 5-0 record, very uptick start, a very unexpected start, even by them, I imagine. But there are several teams that are waiting for them to join the one-loss club. We got in the AFC, got the 4-1 Ravens and the 4-1 Bills, both who haven't lost a game since week 1. So they're on a four straight wins high here. And then also in the AFC, we got the 4-1 Chargers. They're on a 3-game winning streak themselves. In the NFC, 4 teams are 4-1. The Cowboys and Packers also haven't lost since week 1. And then you got the Rams and the Bucks as well. So touchdown Tomboy, who is the best 4-1 team in the AFC and who's the best 4-1 team in the NFC?
In the AFC, woo, I don't know. I think that, oh my gosh. Okay. So it's just hard, just because of what I've seen the Ravens do. It's hard for me to discount them. However, I feel like I'm looking at mirror images of the Chargers and the Bills. I feel like I'm looking at the same team in reflection. They have a really good quarterback who has a huge arm, who has big targets that he's feeling that connection with. And they got defenses that are playing really well. And they're playing really good complementary football. So I feel like I'm looking at mirror images. But if I had to give the edge, I would have to give the edge to the Bills, simply because they've been doing it a little bit longer. And so the congruency of what they have, the complement, it should be more complementary because their system has been in place. So at this point, they're almost running like a well-oiled machine. And the way that Josh Allen played, oh my God, I was like, oh my God, this kid is crazy. Like, this is bananas. Like the way he was playing, and then he did some type of leap over in a, like, I was like, I don't know where that kid come from, but that is not the same Josh Allen that was 2 seasons ago.
No, definitely
So
not.
if I had to give the edge, I would have to give it to the Bills. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think that the Chargers are right there with them, because if I didn't think, the only reason why I can't put the Chargers with the Bills is because they are running a new offense with a new coach, but they're doing a lot to be under new, leadership, and they're playing very well. And I think that I'm looking at those two are mirror images of each other. So that's kind of hard for me with them too. The Chargers and the Bills, I wouldn't be surprised either way. Now in the NFC, I love the Packers, but as I've always told you, it is the Packers defense that brings them down notches for me, because that defense is just not where it should be when you talk about a team that's going all the way or they're going deep into the playoffs. Unless they step up and they can provide more with Jalen Smith now, or they can scheme differently, I just see Aaron Rodgers would have to score tons and tons and tons and tons, in order to keep up with for as bad as the defense is not playing. So it's kind of like, for me, I wanted to go with Green Bay, but I still have a hard time. As much as you want to overlook, you can't I can't just walk away from the Rams like that, because I still feel like they are they lost to the Cardinals. That's the only loss they've lost to, is the Cardinals. And I just kind of feel like that offense is really good. They got, and that defense is really good. And so because of that, I would have to pick them. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think Dallas is running up on their heels. The only difference is I just think that Dallas's defense won't be able to contain as well as the Rams defense will. And that's why I'll have to give the Rams the edge.
So you're going with the Rams in the NFC and the Bills in the AFC.
Yes, and Tampa, I feel like they just got too many injuries going around, and it's like I can't see consistent play from them every week. Gotcha. But in terms of consistency and what I see, I would say the Rams are on pace, and I would say the Bills.
Gotcha.
And the Chargers are running right there with the Bills.
Chargers right there. Yeah, they're just very young, but very very feisty though, nonetheless. And I like the way you reacted when I first asked you this question. I reacted the same way. Like, this one is tough. Out of these 7 teams, I mean, any of these 7 could be in the AFC and NFC Championship. Either of these 7 could be in the Super Bowl. Of course, we're basing it right now going into week 6. Still to be determined, but usually I agree with you a lot. It's not saying neither one of us is right or wrong, but just like, I can't believe I didn't agree with you on these at all. Like, again, another time this episode. But in the AFC, I actually went with Baltimore. You know how hard it is for me to go with Baltimore. And maybe I'm saying this, maybe it's a jinx. Maybe that's what I'm doing. Maybe I'm jinxing Baltimore. But I actually went with Baltimore. And I mean, oddly enough, it's more because of Justin Tucker. Like, again, this is a Baltimore team. Baltimore can be on the 40-yard line in their own territory. You don't even gotta get to the 50 no more with Baltimore. Time running out, you need a field goal. You can rely on Justin Tucker. And not just this season. I mean, he's been reliable consistently. So I don't know. I'm just and then if Lamar Jackson somehow keeps playing the way that he played on Monday night with that inspiring football, I just feel like this is a demolition team as far as that combo. And it's very rare that we can speak so highly of a kicker, but I trust Justin Tucker. Like if God rest his soul, Pipe Dog is deceased, God bless his soul. But if Can I Kick It, if Tribe Called Quest did Can I Kick It like a new version, and they did a video, y'all gotta put Justin Tucker in there for real, because that dude, he's that guy. I mean, he's dished out heartbreakers. Like, look what he did to Detroit. I mean, Detroit was on the cusp of their first win of the season, finally, and Justin Tucker is the reason why they didn't get it done. The reason why, like, so the Bills, yeah, I love Josh Allen. He's got a cannon of an arm. He's very mobile. But I have not completely trusted Buffalo's offense since the departure of Stephon Diggs. I still feel like they haven't really got the full deep threat, like Allen's balling, don't get me wrong. Like, he's getting touchdowns every which way you can put him. But I just still feel like down the stretch, like you still don't have that Stephon Diggs. Like, it's kind of like that recipe that's missing, like that one ingredient. And I don't think that they have that. So I'm not completely on Buffalo just because of that missing component. And I love Sean McDermott too. I think the Bills did that was like the bet. Like when I hated for Carolina when he left at the defensive coordinator position, because I'm like, this is a really good move. Like, Carolina's going to hurt, but Buffalo's going to blossom, because that's how nice Sean McDermott is. So I love Sean McDermott. But if the Bills had to play the Ravens right now, I would just give the Bills and the Ravens had to play right now, I give a slight edge to Baltimore, also because of experience. Now the Chargers, I love their young quarterback. They got a nice, good core, young running back, veteran pieces on the wide receiver position, especially Keenan Allen, who of course is from Greensboro, North Carolina. So love that. But I mean, even down to their coach, they're just very young. That's all. And I think the time is going to come. I just don't think it's now. It will be refreshing, right? But I just don't think that, like let's just say down the stretch and playoffs and stuff, Chargers they don't know nothing about that. So, and not saying that they can't get there or can't do it. I'm just saying, like, I'm really relying and looking at a lot of experience. They're definitely around the corner. They're definitely on the way. But it's a hard pill for me to say. But again, maybe it's a jinx. But I'm going with the Ravens in the AFC. In the NFC, best 4-1 team. Only reason why I go with the Bucs is because they're still the Super Bowl champions, and they are winning without, like you said, they got all these injuries. They're still winning, and they still have Tom Brady, who's aging backwards. So I don't know. I just look at them, and I know that the loss that they got, they took a loss to the Rams, who are also 4-1, and they're down the stretch. To me, I think the Rams will get it back together, and I'm still looking at them as a super duper heavy favorite. But here's the reason why I'm edging out the Rams on this. When the Bucs were playing the Rams, I knew the Bucs were going to lose. I knew the Rams were going to win. It was in LA. I already knew it. Like, the Bucs were due. But the difference with the Rams, their one loss was against the Arizona team. Granted, it was a divisional. I'll get that. But it was also at home. But the Rams, like, Arizona completely took them out of their game plan. So it's more like I'm not disappointed or surprised in the Bucs for losing, but I am definitely disappointed in the way that the Rams lost. And then you're at home, and then you lost by double digits. And then, like, Kyler Murray did not have any turnovers against your defense. So it was more about Arizona for me then than it was about the Rams. And the way that they lost, it was just a really ugly, bad loss. So that's why I would go with the Bucs on that too. I'm in Dallas. I've seen this Dallas team every single year. They start off hot, undefeated in September, 3-1 in September, 4-1. I've seen this before. Dallas surprised me. Let me see what y'all do in late November, December, and now January, now that the playoffs, now the Super Bowl's later. So until Dallas shows me something different later in the season, I cannot trust them. And then Green Bay, I'm agreeing with you on that. I just really need to see what their defense does consistently. Like you said, Jalen Smith, they also acquired Quinn Dunbar. So let's see how they act with these pieces here on defense. And will your real running game ever stand up? Like, will it ever show up? Like, you've never had consistent running game. So I just roll with Tampa Bay again, just by default, more so because they're the Super Bowl champs. And I wasn't surprised that they lost to the Rams. All right, so overtime. Week 6 picks. Let's jump into the Sunday games. Of course, the bye weeks have started. We got Atlanta, New Orleans, the Jets, and San Fran. All of them on bye weeks as we've started here going into week 6. Touchdown Tomboy, though. So we do still have let's see, instead of 16 games now, we have 14 games now with those 4 teams. So Miami at Jacksonville, that is a game also over the pond. So it'll be coming on at 9:30 in the morning on Sunday. You waking up for that? You gonna pick Miami? You going with Jacksonville?
I'll already be up. Who's under center for Miami?
It's not Tua. I don't know who it is. I just know who it is.
I'll still have to get an edge to Miami. Although I think Jacksonville could sneak and win their first game. But I just think just the way that they got mollywopped by Tampa last week, I don't think they'll do that again this week.
Very true. I mean, I'm going with Jacksonville out of pity almost. Like, this is probably the best chance that you have to win your first game. You're out of the States. Like, it's a fresh scenery. You're over the pond. You got some sights that you can see over there in London. And I don't know. I just think maybe just getting off of U.S. territory might help. Also, John Gruden has kind of taken away some of the pressure. Urban Meyer was the hot coach being discussed last week. John Gruden's take some of that spotlight from him now. So maybe that'll be a nice change of pace as well. Jags have played. Lawrence has improved. They almost beat Cincinnati, who only had 1 loss at the time. So I don't know. I think Jacksonville might sneak in their first win. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami won. But hey, maybe Jacksonville gone ahead and finally not be winless anymore. Green Bay and Chicago, back in the States, back to a 1:00 game.
I'm gonna go with Green Bay on this one. Although Chicago did look very formidable last week, I'm still gonna go with Green Bay. Just because Aaron Rodgers is just a professional. He knows how to cut defenses in half somehow. Chicago is having issues because they don't really have a running game right now too. So I just think I think that Green Bay's defense will be able to do enough to slow them down.
Right. I agree. I just think it's going to be too much offense from Green Bay. And yeah, now they're getting these pieces on defense. We finally get to see that showcase. And then they're going against a young quarterback too that they can kind of confuse and take advantage of, even though it's in Chicago. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm going with Green Bay as well. Cincinnati at Detroit.
I got to go with the Bengals. They're playing really well right now. I would like Detroit to get their first win, but I just think that Cincinnati they've been playing really well together.
Gotcha. The fact that Cincinnati barely beat Jacksonville, another winless team, I think that they'll barely, I think it'll be another close game against another winless team. But I think Detroit to get their first win. I'm going for both. I'm going for both of them. I think these are some of the better situations for these two teams to finally get their first win. Dan Campbell gave a very emotional post game last week.
He was crying. I saw that. I was like, dang, I think I would play for him, man. He is
right, exactly. Put me in the game, coach, for real.
I'm ready.
You want to suit up for a coach like that. Again, it's kind of a pity win. I'm going for them. It's in Detroit. I don't know. Now this is a little bit of a biased reason, but I do want them to help my division because I need Cincinnati to lose. So yeah, this is another reason I'm going for Detroit. Houston at Indy. No Tyrod Taylor again.
I will go with the coach this time. I just think that even though Houston is pretty good, I just think that the Colts got a little too much offensively. I think they just have a lot with Pascal and Zach Taylor. They're running really well too, and it'll be hard. I think as much as I think Carson Wentz is a disaster, I do think they'll still win that game.
Yeah, I agree. I think Indy will win this divisional game too at home, and the way that Indy surrendered that game on Monday night. And this is not to take away anything from Baltimore, but I just hope you're embarrassed enough that you'll play with a little bit more pride and you'll try to get your face back. I would be mad at the way I lost that game. So I would come out and play some really inspiring football, and I'd be ready to take it out on my divisional rival who hadn't won a game since week 1, and I ain't got number 1 win myself. So I would hope and think that would be the mentality and approach that I would take if I was an Indy player. But yeah, I don't know. Again, no Tyrod Taylor either. So yeah, I think Indy should be able to handle this one. LA Rams at the New York Giants.
I'm going with the Rams. I just think that because I don't even know if Daniel Jones will be back from that concussion, and then Saquon is out again. Yeah, so I just the Rams.
Yeah, way too many injuries for the Giants. I mean, they already weren't really a strong team as it was without the injuries, and now your star players, your first round players are hurt. So yeah, I think it'll be too much LA, too many Rams for them. Rams in one. Now, granted, the thing is you don't have a lot of film on these replacements, so that's usually always can be beneficial. So because of that, I think it'll be a little bit closer than anticipated. Plus, LA is coming. They're West Coast. They're playing in sometimes that's always like that always alters a West Coast team because you're playing at 10 a.m. and you like your mind and body aren't really completely adjusted. So I think it'll be a lot closer than anticipated. But yeah, at the end of the day, Rams for the win. Kansas City at Washington. I mean, is this the battle, the worst defenses bowl right here?
Yeah, I know, right? I know, right? Oh man, I still think that Kansas City, because Kansas City can score. I mean, at the end of the day, they can score. The issue is with Kansas City, all the games that they've lost to teams that have really strong defenses. And so I think that Kansas City can score, and Washington's defense is not doing as good this year. And so I just think that Kansas City should win that game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington won, just because in addition to Kansas City playing stronger defenses, like they've been figured out. They've been exposed. I feel like maybe everybody who prepares for Kansas City has been watching that Tampa Bay Super Bowl footage, and they're preying on them as a result. Because I'm seeing a lot of reminiscent pieces of what Tampa did in that Super Bowl. You know, disrupting the pocket, making sure that you double team Kelsey and not give up the big plays and down the field. And that's what Tampa did in that Super Bowl. And everybody's kind of carbon copying that. And I think they figured out a formula. Not necessarily thinking that Washington can handle that or has the personnel. And like you said, Kansas City can score. The other thing is, Steve Spagnuolo, defensive coordinator for Kansas City, he has a young quarterback on the plate this week. So maybe he can dial up some blitzes to confuse him, apply some pressure. Wouldn't be surprised if Washington won. But again, kind of like Indy last week, I hope Kansas City will be playing with some pride after losing 2 home games this season. I mean, is it going to take you going out on the road and getting your face smacked off at home to get your pride back and get yourself together? I mean, we're going to have to start threatening jobs or something. But yeah, all of that factored in. I would hope Washington plays. I mean, Kansas City plays inspired ball, but I wouldn't be surprised if Washington won. All right, your game, your boys on deck. Minnesota at Carolina, another home game.
Oh man, I don't know. I never thought I'd say I don't know, but I think that everybody's scared in Carolina, so I think that they scared that Daddy Tepper gonna come down and give everybody pink slips. Because he was very, very mad at us losing that game, and they came from behind and we lost that game.
Right.
And it was not on the account of our defense. And so I think because they dug in them so hard this week that I think that Joe Brady and Sam Darnold are gonna just purposefully have better games this week. And hopefully we can get a win at home. But I mean, I can't root against my own team, of course. But yeah, so I'm gonna go with this.
Gotcha. Minnesota is excellent at home, not so much on the road. So the fact that they're coming to Carolina, and I actually remember years ago, Minnesota came to Carolina. It was like the year that I don't remember the gentleman's name. I'm sorry, but like there was like a police brutality incident that happened in Charlotte, and the SWAT team was down there, and like you could hear the helicopters going on. I was like, Lord, I feel like we was in Compton. But I remember that was the game Minnesota came. And it was just really eerie that day, just the spirit because of everything that happened in Charlotte. And Minnesota actually won and beat Carolina. I think Cam might have got sacked like 6 or 7 times that game.
Minnesota's defense is really good. It's usually is.
I still don't trust Kirk Cousins. I feel like he literally walked in Minnesota's bank with a gun out and a mask over his face and robbing for that money. And again, just this Minnesota team, not as good on the road. I mean, they got some really, really good quality home wins. I just don't trust them on the road. Like you said, with Carolina, the way that they lost last week, my theme here, like, you got to play with some pride now. You got to be kind of scared and come out and play inspiring ball. Same thing I said about Kansas City. Same thing I said about Indy. I'm expecting maybe Carolina to do the same. I don't think Sam Darnold will make the same mistakes as he did last week. A couple of those interceptions were gifts, and I think he'll be a little bit more conscious and a little bit more aware this time. And I think that Carolina should be able to get the job done against Minnesota. All right, LA Chargers at Baltimore. Now, one of these teams is going to go to 4-2 after Sunday. So yeah, LA Chargers at Baltimore. Who you got?
LA is going to Baltimore.
LA is going to Baltimore, and it's a 1:00 game.
I like Baltimore, but I just think that Baltimore gave a lot on Monday night, and it's hard to bet against Baltimore. But I think Baltimore gave a lot on Monday night. I do. I feel like they gave a lot on Monday night. And the Chargers defensively is not like the Colts defensively.
That's true.
They are a better team defensively. And so I'm going to give this one to the Chargers.
Yeah, I hope LA wins. Again, that's a bias because for the sake of my division. I was really like, this is my fault for celebrating too early because, like, Sunday we had won and Cincinnati had lost and Cleveland lost, and I had just needed Baltimore to lose, and we would have been one game behind. And I started celebrating prematurely. That is completely my fault. And then Baltimore did what they did. Happy for Lamar Jackson, but divisional reasons, no, not at all. So I'm hoping Baltimore will lose. Gosh, the thing that scares me, again, young quarterbacks. Like, defenses have a field day against young quarterbacks. It's kind of like
But this is what's different with that, though. Justin Herbert, nobody's been able to get to him.
I agree.
Rashawn Slater is playing lights out, okay? Like, that offensive line, can we just get them in Carolina? Like, that offensive line is it, okay? Like, Justin Herbert has all day back there. Nobody's been able to get to him.
And those are the reasons why, again, I hope Baltimore loses. And like you said, Baltimore gave everything they had. And it's a shorter week. They just play winning, but they're also at home. It's M&T Bank. I'm going to keep it real. Like, sometimes just when they be panning and you see that Ravens eyes, it looks very intimidating. And then all the black and purple in the field, and then especially Baltimore wears the all black. I think Baltimore has a pretty stellar record when they wear all black at home. Got to check into that, but they might even be almost undefeated. So gosh, if they pull out their all black, they might not do it at 1:00 on a Sunday afternoon with some Indian summer that we're experiencing. I don't know, Baltimore has the same weather. Maybe they won't, but again, I hope and pray, please, Chargers win. I'm rooting for you. But it's hard to bet against Baltimore at home against Justin Tucker. You just got to get to the 40. But I am rooting for the Chargers. So Arizona and Cleveland. Will Arizona go to 6-0 and they improve? Or you like Cleveland? This what you got, touchdown Tomboy?
I think the Arizona will win, and I'm gonna tell you why. Everything goes by Brother Baker Mayfield. And I told you some weeks back that Baker was going to have a Cam Newton injury. I told you that on this show. I got receipts. I said the way he got up, there is not a dislocated shoulder. He has the same injury that Cam Newton had the year that he did the same hit trying to stop a defender from scoring a touchdown. And he got him the same exact way. And here we are, and they're saying, oh, he has a torn labrum. Oh, I told y'all that 4 weeks ago. How many weeks ago that was? Because that's not, a dislocated shoulder does not perform like that.
Right.
And I just think that Arizona, the way that defense is playing, if they sack Baker 1 or 2 more times, poor thing, he probably shouldn't even be out there at this point. Especially with a torn labrum, because it's so easy to rip it the rest of the way.
Right.
So I can't believe they're letting him play. But they may not have a choice because I don't even know who their backup is. But I just think that Arizona will probably go out there and they'll blitz Baker to death, and it'll be in the story.
Right. Chandler Jones should pick up from those 5 sacks that he got in week 1. He should definitely be able to pick up where he left off with that, because it's been a while since he's produced. I mean, he's got like half a sack or something since then, but I think he might get his face back with some sacks on this one with a weaker Baker Mayfield. he's not 100%. He has absolutely no chemistry with Odell. I wouldn't be surprised as we get close to the trade deadline. I wouldn't be surprised if Odell's name came up. Also, Baker Mayfield has some civil wars going on that are a distraction. You know, it's his brother popping off, his wife popping off, and I'm like, dude, you don't need all of this. So I think he's like dealing with civil war conflict as well. Those distractions on top of trying to get through some pain with that shoulder. See, I like Arizona to improve to 6-0 as well. All right, so Las Vegas at Denver. This is interesting because both of these teams started 3-0. Both of them have lost 2 games in a row as well. So one of these teams gets the opportunity to snap that skid. Who you rolling with, touchdown time, boy?
I'm gonna have to go with Denver this week, and the reason why I'm gonna go with Denver is because with all the dramas going on, they just can't revamp that fast. I mean, not that I think that the Raiders can't be a scoring offense, but they're going to Denver, correct?
It is at Denver.
Right. So they're already going to Denver, they're going Mile High. And then in addition to going Mile High, they got whoever is new taking over as their coach. So they got all of that going on. Then they're traveling from the West Coast to Denver. Like, I just think they just got too many battles to overcome this week. So I'm going to give that one to Denver.
Definitely. Broncos, this is really your chance. The Raiders are distracted. Their game plan has been deterred by the termination of their coach so abruptly. So you're at home, get it done. No matter who the quarterback is, you know, you had a bad loss against the Steelers last week. There's been some challenges, like people are challenging each other to step up. So this is your chance, again, with a very distracted Las Vegas Raiders team. Dallas at New England. This is a 4:25 game. Who you rolling with?
Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm rolling with
England
Dallas.
looks terrible. New England looks terrible. I'm telling you, if that guy would not have gotten that roughing the passer call, they would have lost to Houston.
Yeah.
New England looks terrible.
Yeah.
And I think they're regretting every step of the way that they crowned Brother Mac a little too soon.
Well, yeah, they did. I mean, he's improved and he looked very like it was almost a low scoring shootout between the Bucks a few weeks ago. But I think that was just because New England was so familiar with Tom Brady. So I don't really credit New England as much as just the fact that the opponent was familiar.
Well, here's the thing. That to me, what I'm saying is the issues with New England, they really don't have anything to do with Mac Jones. Mac Jones, yes, he's gotten better. And yes, he's doing the most he can do. But the problem is in New England, they don't have a true running game. So they don't have anybody that can really open up the offense for them. And that was the benefit of having Cam Newton under center, because he could razzle dazzle. Mac Jones can't do that. That's not who he is. And so you got to rely specifically on the players around him to do it, and he can just throw. And that's the beauty of having a quarterback that is mobile, and they have a superpower, because he doesn't
I get that and I agree with that, but I mean, New England didn't even have a running game when Tom Brady was there either. But the difference is Tom Brady was such an accurate passer and they had a better offensive line. And I'm honestly, if this was Tom Brady with New England, I would have gone with New England, but because they're playing Jones, I agree with you. I like Dallas on this one. So Seattle at Pittsburgh is the nighttime game, and I am in heaven because my boys play prime time. We got a nighttime game, and the verses between Big Daddy Kane and KRS-One, both of them are coming on at the same time. So I like simultaneously, I get a great versus battle and hopefully a good football game. So I'm gonna be in heaven. And I'm touchdown time, boy. Seattle at Pittsburgh, 8:20 Sunday night. Who you rolling with?
Y'all don't have Juju. Is Claypool still hurt?
Claypool's not 100%. He's definitely nursing the injury still.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Geno doesn't look bad. He actually looks really good.
He didn't. The interception was a gift. That's all. Like it was just he just threw it right to him, but he didn't look bad at all.
No, it's kind of. I like Pitt. Y'all going to Seattle?
No, it's at Pittsburgh. We got we got one. Our last home game is December 5th, and we hit the road everywhere else. We got all these home games early. And mind you,
I haven't really heard much from Seattle's defense though.
Well, and then also, also Seattle lost Dunbar. Dunbar is gone to Green Bay now. But Seattle gets an advantage because even though they're coming East Coast, it's an 8 o'clock game, so it's 4 o'clock in their mind, which is the time that they typically play their games anyway, 4 or 5 o'clock.
This is true. This is true. But y'all are at home, and they do have to come all the way from Seattle.
But they play at 8:20.
But the thing is I don't know. No, y'all not gonna be. I think because Gino's style, even though him and Russell are similar, Gino is not that far removed from the NFL play. Like, he was a significant player at one time.
Yeah, he was, especially at West Virginia.
So I don't know. I don't know if Big Ben can pull out the same thing twice. That's the problem.
No, and I think that even with like our saving grace against Denver, keeping it real, was because they didn't have their starting quarterback. And I think that if this was Russell Wilson we were playing against, the way we're playing, absolutely, this would be a double-digit loss for us. And Gino didn't play bad. The only thing, though, I don't think Gino has the chemistry established, because we're talking about a Russell Wilson who never missed a game, and a Russell Wilson who had got to 100 wins the fastest. Oh, yeah, part of that was because he had played so many games. Now, granted, Seattle's had extra time to prepare with Gino because they played last Thursday, so they had some extra days. I just don't think that there's enough time to build that chemistry, because who had Russell Wilson out to get hurt? Russell Wilson don't get hurt. So it's such a, like, where you got like David Carr might get hurt again. Ben typically gets hurt. Aaron Rodgers came off an injury, so he's susceptible. It's just that this one was one, like, there's just not enough time for them to have that chemistry with Gino. And I think that might help us. But like I said, just those reasons. It's hard for me to pick against my boys. But again, if we were playing Russell Wilson, there's no way, if, ands, or buts, we definitely lose. But I'm just relying on the fact that there's no chemistry completely established, and we are playing a Geno Smith who doesn't have a lot of reps with these guys yet. That's the only reason why I'm going with us.
I don't know. I'm not convinced that y'all will do it 2 times. It's not even your defense. It's Ben.
Oh, that's
the question for me. What is Ben gonna be on Sunday?
Well, and he's lost Juju, and then I say Carl Dez, and Claypool's not 100%. So yeah, I get it.
So Ben is the question for me. So I don't know. It's hard for me, even when I saw how Gino was playing. It's kind of still hard for me to root against them. So I'm gonna have to go with the Hawks.
All right, and then Buffalo at Tennessee is the Monday game, 8:15.
The Bills.
You going the Bills?
At Tennessee, I'm going with the Bills. Let me tell you why I'm going with the Bills. Because Ryan Tannehill is the most sacked quarterback in the whole NFL. He has gotten his butt handed to him a lot. And just the way that the Bills are very fast off the ball, I just see him in the dirt a lot. Because his offensive line is really bad.
I need the Bills to win, because it's before last week, that was still the case, because Buffalo hasn't lost since we beat them. So the more the Bills win, the better it makes my Steelers look, because it's kind of like, oh, they're only losses to the Steelers. So we're kind of holding on to that thread. So I'll go for Buffalo for that reason. I don't know, but yeah, I like Buffalo on this one too. All right, so that's gonna do it for this episode of WTF 2 Women Talk Football 2. Gridiron Goddess, Touchdown Tomboy, Shlika McCrimmon, Latasha Miles. We appreciate you guys for the love and the comments and the feedback. We're getting some fluidity with that, so keep it going. We greatly appreciate that. Heading into week 6, let's see, one more undefeated, 2 winless teams. We'll see if we talk about anything different with that next week, because that has been the trend 6 weeks so far. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Touchdown Tomboy, any news, updates, anything you want to share? Or
oh man, now we just ready for it. Let's go for it, man. It's almost that time.
All right, and we intentionally bypassed the Tampa and Philly game. So don't want nobody think we didn't acknowledge it. We just bypassed the Thursday games just due to timing and recording. So yeah, we'll be back next week, week 7, see how things go. We appreciate the love and support. Thanks for tuning in, and we're out.
All right.